So we don't have much time. So just tell me 5, then I'll stop it.
What time is the end? What time is the end? Huh?
What time is
It is
7:41. Next slide, please. Hare Krishna. So, how many of you here are not familiar with Nrismha Leela?
Oh yeah, it's on fun.
So everybody is familiar with the Hiranyakashipu story, right?
Yes.
Okay. So almost everyone knows the story. So there's no need for repeating it, but the glorification is glorification. So I will try to not spend too much time. Anyway, so Srila Prabhupada says that the Hiranyakashipu Lord Nrsimhadev episode is ongoing. It never ends. It was not a one-time story. It's an episode of a battle between atheists and theists. So, who are the atheists? Divansh? Who are the atheists? What's the definition for an atheist?
Someone who does not believe in religion.
One who doesn't believe and who has his own religion, in other words. He doesn't believe in the Supreme Lord and he has his own way of living. So here Srila Prabhupada, on the purport of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he says that all over the world 99% of the people are demons, 99.9%. That means that it continues even now, that if you see, this is not something we have concocted, and Srila Prabhupada's his observation was very perfect, and he says that 99.9%, that means almost the entire civilization is demonic. And when it says demonic, let us not imagine that people are really demonic, but the demonic mentality is overpowering the divine mentality. So that is what Srila Prabhupada says that. And Srila Prabhupada says that preaching of Krishna consciousness is always hampered by these impediments. So we have seen it, and Srila Prabhupada also goes on to say that when you go to distribute books, that you have always faced difficulties because the people are opposed to, they provide hurdles and they come up with unique ways to stop us from distributing the literatures or scriptures glorifying the Lord, and all of us have experienced it, and that's Srila Prabhupada's statement. So Prahalad actually means blissful, and Hiranyakashipu, Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means a bed, and basically comfort seeker. He's a materialist and he seeks comforts, and that is Hiranyakashipu. Next slide. So today, next slide, Vikshan, please. So since we are all familiar with Bhagavatam and the episode of Hiranyakashipu and Nrsimhadev, I will just go through these 10 chapters in the 7th canto. So these are the 10 chapters in 7th canto, and Divansh, can you read those chapter titles?
Chapter 1. The plea of the Lord is equal to everyone. Chapter 2. Hiranyakashipu, king of the demons. Chapter 3. Hiranyakashipu's plan to become immortal. Chapter 4. Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. Chapter 5. Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. Chapter 6. Prahlad destructs his demoniac schoolmates. Chapter 7. What Prahlad learned in the womb. Chapter 8. Lord Nrsimhadev slays the king of the demons. Chapter 9. Prahlad pacifies Lord Nrsimhadev with prayers. Chapter 10. Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees.
So chapter 1 begins with the title, The Supreme Lord is Equal to Everyone, and this is the question raised based on the ending of the last chapter. Last chapter is Chitraketu, which is the Vritrasura demon who was killed by Indra. And then there, after listening to the episode of the destruction of Vritrasura, or the battle between Vritrasura and Indra, Parikshit Maharaj has a question whether the Lord is biased towards the demonic or the divine, the demigods. So to clarify that doubt, whether the Lord is biased or equal, he raises the question to Sukadeva Goswami. And Sukadeva Goswami explains that by quoting another question raised by Yudhishthira Maharaj related to Shishupal and Lord Krishna. When Shishupal was killed, Lord Krishna and how that episode. So Lord, and there they narrate, and Lord Narada Muni narrates to Yudhishthira Maharaj how the Lord is equal by quoting this example of Hiranyakashipu and Nrsimha's Leela. And that's how this first chapter lays the foundation, and where it is demonstrated, or the story is set to show that the Lord is equal to everyone. And chapter 2 is Hiranyakashipu, king of the demons, and here is where the villain comes, Hiranyakashipu. So here we understand, all of us understand, Hiranyakashipu goes through the penance or austerity and to win over the demigods. So Hiranyakashipu's brother is Hiranyaksh. We all know that he was killed by, who killed Hiranyaksh? Yes, Varahadev. So Hiranyaksh was killed by Varahadev, and to revenge or take revenge of that killing, he wants to gain more powers, and that's how he goes into tapasya. Next slide. So we will start with chapter 2. What I do is I have picked few verses from each of the chapters, and we can go through it. And there's a lot to speak on each verse, and there are so many verses in each of the chapters. So I thought I'll just pick some verses that just something stuck in me, and I'll speak from there. So what you'll see in this presentation will be selected verses from chapter 2 through 10, ending with Lord Nrsimha's appearance. So here, Hiranyakashipu, he goes into a great demonic, great austerity, and anybody knows what kind of austerity he does? The kids? Yes?
He's going to ask Brahmadev to become immortal.
Perfect, yes. We all know the story. He goes to Brahma, Lord Brahma, to ask to become immortal so that he can conquer the entire universe and entire creations. So his strategy here is explained beautifully here. He says that as he gets power, the way to destroy the civilization is to destroy the Brahminical situation. So if you destroy the top order of the Brahmins who lead the society, then you can actually win over the society. So he says here that set fires to those places where the Vedas are studied and worshipped, and cut the roots from there. And you can see that's what's happening right now in this current society, that who is ruling the kingdom is not a Kshatriya. He is basically the lowest class people, or reversed. Now the civilization is reversed. The Brahmanas are begging, and they are lower in the categories, and the Sudras are on the top order. They are leading the governments, and they are managing the society. So that is how the society is destroyed, and that is the mastermind of Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu's followers and generations, or even now. So if you go to India, you cannot drink even a glass of water from the rivers, and that's how much we have polluted. And that is actually a masterminded effort. It is not something that happened overnight. It is a mastermind of the demonic people who wanted to pollute and destroy the system so that they can rule over the country or the civilization. And this is very common. We don't just in the environment, and everywhere you can see, if you go outside, you cannot do anything without being controlled by somebody. And that's controlling authority is this demonic nature, and that is prevalent, and they are very subtle, but they are very powerful. They control the society, civilization. And that idea, the intelligence for that ability to control comes from Hiranyakashipu. He says that go to the roots. The roots is where you destroy it, and by that you turn around and then take power. So the Nestle water bottle manufacturing, have you ever seen Nestle water, right? He made an emphatic statement saying that who said water is free? And that is his motto. He says that he wanted to make it in a way that water is commercialized so that he can sell it, and he says water cannot be free, and that is some sort of a mentality of the atheist. Another example is that in India they're trying to convert, take out the breeds, the original cow breeds, by trying to bring in the breeds from America and the different breeds so that you can demonstrate a monopoly of the system. So you have your own cows and New Jersey cows, etc., where you can just so that you don't have to, that's a beautiful strategy to commercialize and to gain power over the system. And there are numerous examples. This is just two examples. There are thousands and thousands of examples where these demons they plan great strategies to control the civilization. So right now we are not here for Hiranyakashipu, so let's move on. Next slide, please. So Hiranyakashipu, there is something very notable about Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu here, as he said, and as Premanand and Divansh mentioned, he performs austerity, and he performed austerity by standing on one foot and by praying. I believe it's one foot, correct, Premanand? By praying for Lord Brahma, and he stood on this penance position, on this standing position with his arms like this, and looking towards the heavens, and standing on one toe for how long?
10,000.
100,000 demigods.
How long he? Okay, how long? 20 hours? Yes, the good shot. It says he was there for 100 celestial years, and one day of our time, or one day of the celestial is equal to 6 months of our time. So I calculated it's 180,000 years. 180 times 100 is 18,000 years he was on this penance. And next slide, please. So as you can see on the picture, the previous slide, that he actually, after standing there for 18,000 years, he lost all his flesh and body, and as he was just standing, because all the worms and the ants have eaten up the entire muscular system of it, and he was basically standing by himself. Srila Prabhupada says that he is an example that one person can exist without the body. And here, the important point, notable point, and this is tapasya, is that when Lord Brahma actually hears the complaint from the demigods that he has been performing the penance for such a long time that the heat from his body is destroying the world, and the demigods approach Lord Indra to say that please come down and stop this and let us proceed with our peaceful existence. And that's how Lord Brahma comes. It's beautiful. Lord Brahma comes in a swan, and he's like, okay, I got another assignment, as cool as that. And Lord Brahma comes in, and it is amazingly says, wow, Lord Brahma is amazed by such a posture. One is standing on the toe and is covered by his hand hills, and the fire effulgence coming from his forehead. And he was standing there praying, and there is no body as such. He is just standing there. Can you imagine somebody standing there? We cannot stand here for 18 seconds. And he's standing for 18,000 years without taking water, air, without doing anything, just living off the air. And he's standing. And this is the statement. I am very astonished to see your endurance. This is Lord Brahma, who has seen everything. He lives for thousands and thousands of years and seen all kinds of austerity and penances, and he is observing, and his observation is, this is astonishing to see someone can do such things. In spite of being eaten and bitten by all kinds of worms and ants, you are keeping your life force circulating. So when such a powerful Lord Brahma, who did tapa to understand Lord Krishna, his only word he heard was tapa when Lord Vishnu initially came out of the lotus, and he performed tapasya. They know tapasya. When the person who has done enormous tapasya can congratulate somebody for some powerful tapasya, that means that is some tapasya. Even saintly persons like Bhrigu, born previously, could not perform such severities. This is a notable point. Anyone in the future be able to. That is Hiranyakashipu. He starts with that power, and we all know he is none other than the Vaikuntha Loka's Jaya, actually. Vijaya and Jaya and Vijaya. He is Jaya himself, who was cast down into this material world for insulting the Sanat Kumaras or the Brahma Kumaras. Next slide, please. So this is a powerful significance. Later on I'll explain. And Hiranyakashipu, so this second chapter where Hiranyakashipu gets this enormous power. So he conducts that huge tapasya for that long period, and then he inquires from Lord Brahma, Lord Brahma, I would like to be immortal. And Lord Brahma immediately says that I am immortal too, and I cannot avoid immortality. So Lord Brahma, he gets some concessions, and all we know what he got. He just basically requested that he cannot be killed by a human being, evening, morning, but not by any weapons. So he gets the boon. And not only that, the second chapter really goes into much detail, second and third chapter, where it explains how Hiranyakashipu was able to convince his siblings, so he convinced his family that do not lament for the death of Hiranyaksha. And this is a very interesting point here, and he explains exactly from the Bhagavad Gita, I mean, everything about how the body is different from the soul, and how you shouldn't worry about things that are going to change. The body is going to be just be fed by earthworms and insects at the end, and why do you lament for the destruction of the body? Dehinosminata, dehe. That is the first and primal concept Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita, which is that the body is body is different from the soul. And this is the fundamental essence of Krishna consciousness, is that as one understands that you are not the body, and that is the essence of everything. And it is amazing how Srila Prabhupada comes back into this concept, you are not the body. And if one understands that, I think he understands that it is quite powerful that the entire episode, the entire Leela of 10 chapters is going to just talk about that. And Prahlad Maharaj will circle back to it. But here, Hiranyakashipu begins with that, you are not the body. And he gives wonderful explanation, verse after verse, just like Krishna explains to Arjuna, that you are not the body and do not feed on this body. And he gives another examples to even demonstrate Lord Yamaraj convincing the queen, saying that the king passed, the king who you are lamenting for is just the body. You don't even know who the king is and why you are lamenting for it. So he gives vivid example to explain that do not worry about the body. And it is quite a powerful education, and he somehow convinces, with that education, do not lament for Hiranyaksha, show the demons dismantled. They get dismantled, they get convinced, and they are now convinced by the leader of the project team to do their task, which is to go destroy the Brahminical culture. With having said that, the next is Hiranyakashipu gains power, and now he gains power from Lord Brahma. Now he's into his business. What is his business? He controls the entire universe. It is said that he simply runs over all the heavenly kingdom, and there is nobody who is more powerful than him. All of them are running into hiding, except Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Krishna, and Lord Vishnu. Except three, all the demigods are put into misery, and that's how much power he gets. He controls the inhabitants of all the other planets. He uses all of their, he even goes to the board of Indra. Next slide, please. So this is, let me clarify there and just explain that once he goes to the heavenly kingdom, he takes over the throne of Indra, and he makes all of the demigods work for him. And while he's explaining to the demons what he's doing, he's saying that this is one of the most interesting point. Right? This is most interesting point that appealed to me, which is that as he was explaining to the demons what happened, because he has to convince his team that he has a project and he wants them to support in his project, which is to win over the heavenly kingdom and the world. And here he says that, as he was talking to the demons, he says that, amazingly, he says, Lord Vishnu, he's supposed to be equal to everyone. That means that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He admits to it. He is the Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's supposed to provide equal instructions, equal benedictions to both demons and the demigods. But unfortunately, here is the amazing observation of Hiranyakashipu. He says that Lord Vishnu is put into illusion. So this is very striking, because just before he said that, he gives an enormous lecture on you are not the body. So Hiranyakashipu is well situated in the Shastric knowledge. He understands everything, but he misses that one point. He has 1,000 points to his credit, but he misses this one point, which he says that Lord Vishnu is put into illusion. So that one point is the big point there. So he missed the whole summary of the Vedas, but he got everything he thought, and that is the root of his destruction. And this is more amazing, and he not only says Lord is put into illusion, he says that I am going to take the trident and destroy and chop off the face of the Supreme Lord. And that is his statement, and one of the most amazing statements on the Supreme Lord. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Aham Sarvasya Prano, Krishna Sarvasya Shagam Ridhisanni Vishto Mattashmati Nanam Apoganam. Krishna says that I am the one who gives memory and forgetfulness. Here the Lord Vishnu residing in Hiranyakashipu's heart is allowing him to say such things. And this statement has some more weightage, because the point is, how many of us have been insulted in our life by somebody? How many of us have been insulted by, we get rude emails and rude WhatsApp messages sometimes, or some chats, or some family members accusing us of something, How many of us have been, okay, let me ask this, how many of us have never been insulted by anybody? Parade Prabhuji, yes, okay. There has to be an exception everywhere. So, we all face rough exchanges, Sometimes we get an email saying that, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhuji, you're such a fool, okay? Where is the please accept my humble obeisances turns quickly into, you don't know anything, Prabhuji, how can you do this? You're such a, you think you can do everything, but you do things, and then you're humble servant, So you begin with something like a humble start, and then you suddenly get some guns loaded and shots shot, and then you're humble servant, and the email goes away. But what happens is, that email is what we do with the email.
It becomes sandwich. It's a feedback sandwich.
It's like a feedback sandwich. That email is going to be Manmana Bhavat Mattu. I'm going to meditate on the email. So that email, I'm going to take a printout, and then I go to my office, and then you read. And this word, I'm exaggerating, but this is just to make the point that you take the email, and then what you do is you spend the next 8 hours contemplating how more rude I can be in responding to that email, but still keeping within my humble obeisances. So you start your humble obeisances, and then you put your humble servant at the end, and you start writing an email, and for every word he wrote, I want to explain in powerful, quoting Vedic scriptures and Upanishads, and how exactly what you're trying to say is, you think I'm a fool, but I'm going to prove that you are the best fool on the planet. So that takes 6 hours of the time, but the email is not done yet. We spend another week contemplating it and calling other devotees to gain new teams, so that when he comes back again, he can fight that person. And that is our consciousness here. The beautiful, amazing point here is Lord Vishnu is criticized by one insignificant, utterly insignificant, one of the trillion species. His body is given by Lord Brahma, whose body is given by Lord Vishnu, without knowing any such things. Here, Hiranyakashipu is criticizing Lord Vishnu, and he says that, I am going to chop up the head. And what Lord Vishnu does is no response. Lord Vishnu does not even say anything. Not even he makes his devotees respond to it. There is no response to Lord Vishnu's insult. That is our Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the abode of patience, is the abode of kindness and mercy. The Lord sits in our altar. Everybody has an altar. The Lord sits in our altar. He doesn't move, but He is alive and sitting. That is our Lord, full of patience. He is just waiting and waiting. And the same Lord sitting in our heart is simply waiting. And that is the patience and the tolerance. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Matra Sprashasya Kanta Yashtoshna Sukha Dukkada Titik Shashva Bharata. Krishna says that one must tolerate. Tolerance is the primary quality of a Vaishnava. The Vaishnava should tolerate even if somebody is going to shoot your head off, the body off, because Lord Vishnu tolerates. Lord Vishnu tolerates, all the devotees tolerate. Srila Prabhupada tolerated all bodily tribulations. Jesus Christ tolerated somebody even nailing his hands into it, because the body is different and they tolerate all kinds of material tribulations. And that is the tolerance of Lord Vishnu tolerates. Just like a child may spit on the father or kick on his nose, but the father tolerates, and that is the tolerance of the Lord, and that is exemplified here. I was amazed how the Lord tolerates such insults from such a fool, and he could easily be defeated. But Lord, the Hiranyakashipu rules for thousands of years after that statement. That's because the Lord patiently waits and still doesn't get agitated, and even then at the end he gets agitated and destroys Hiranyakashipu, not because it was he insulted the Lord, he insulted his devotee. Go to the next slide. No, this slide. So, as we know, as the chapter goes forward, that Hiranyakashipu is now teaching, he is ruling it, and he has given his sons to education from this Brahmanas. I think their name is Sanda and Amarka, I believe. So they are the two Sukracharya's sons, they give him the education of politics and the material education. And here Srila Prabhupada explains that they are giving the material education, and here all the parents must note that all of this material education is completely useless. And actually Srila Prabhupada says that the more one is materially educated, the more deeper he is in illusion. And that is the emphatic statement of Srila Prabhupada. So it takes a lot more time. It's actually dig deeper into the illusion that you need to come out of it. So the more, if anyone, parents feel that they want to educate their sons into the advanced degree, someone Canto explains that there is no value in such educations. And so there is a minimum level. Srila Prabhupada also says that, okay, we need to, frankly speaking, for practical purpose, we need to do something, but that is only something, it is not everything. And one should not falsely think that we shouldn't quote other statements to believe that our son has to be educated so that he can be preached, but it is too difficult to preach if you're too marinated in this material education. So Prahlad Maharaj is now in the school developed by Hiranyakashipu, which is basically to develop uncivilized demonic people, and we have all these universities and schools, that's what they teach. And there it is, he is explaining, now he is giving a explanation to all his fellow students in the class. So here he says that money is so dear that one can conceive of money as being sweeter than honey. So thieves, professional servants and merchants try to acquire money and be risking. So it is all we see here. So if you go the entire world, there are numerous prisons. If you go to all the prisons, there are basically three classes of people. Either they stole money, they robbed, or they shot somebody due to money, which is basically lust, or greed, or due to anger. Because out of anger, they do something. So you can easily classify. This is Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Shiksha Ashtakam, Nadanam, Nadanam, Nasundari. There are only three items: women, money, and followers. And these are the three issues that plague the universe. And ISKCON, management, any system, we have that. And every system allows you to enjoy these powers. Even if you come to ISKCON, as soon as you step in, you are not going to get liberated. You come here, even ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada allows you. If you want to come here to use your greed and desire to empower, you got your mic here. You can become the chief president of ISKCON of California, and then take the mic and start controlling people. And that is the desire. The controlling mentality is in everywhere. And this is not just in any place. It doesn't have to be in a material society or spiritual society. Anywhere, if the person has a tendency, the tendency is what is going to destroy him. And so it's very beautiful. Krishna says that lust, anger and greed. And the entire society can fall under it. Either you got punished, you are crazy in the lust, greed here, and that's what Prahlad Maharaj instructs. And then this is the most interesting. And here, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it is very difficult to be comfortable in the Grihastha life. And here, Grihasthas are really tormented, because they are not tormented in a bad way. They are being given instructions left and right by everyone in the every lila. You see that there is a very, very strong instructions for Grihasthas. And it is, I'm not here to use this to say anything, but generally speaking, here it says, how can a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart being always filled with their pictures, give up their association? And here it is a very emphatic point. It is, the more you meditate on the family attachment, yourself, Srila Prabhupada calls the skin disease. If you're always connected with your skin, always thinking of your family, how am I going to provide to my family, I have to make this much. You always keep planning for the family. And the pictures of the family is what you're going to meditate all the time, and it is very difficult to come out of the picture. So it doesn't mean that we just throw away the pictures, it is a process. But Prahlad Maharaj makes a emphatic statement that you have to be very careful. The Grihasthas have to be extremely careful in dealing with the family, because it is very easy for the family to take your heart. And once they take the heart, and Krishna is simply moved out of your heart, and you have to be very careful. And this is mostly for men, because the men are supposed to lead the family and take the family to the spirituality, and they have to be very careful. And at the same time, they have to be kind and affectionate. It's not that they take the rod and guns and go to plastic at the family, but they need to take the step very carefully and not to allow material attachments and affections override their final goal, which is Krishna consciousness. And this is an art. Srila Prabhupada says in a wife is a Vaishnava, and then it is very conducive, but it is still very, I'm not trying to say accuse or anybody, but the emphasis of Prahlad Maharaj says that you have to be constantly thinking of the Lord, because we are here for pure devotional service. We are not here for service, basically cleaning kitchen and going back. We cannot weekend warriors in a 3-hour program will not take us back to God. It's a Manmana Bhavat Mata, it's a constant flowing process where we have to constantly dedicate ourselves and constantly have that meditative ability to think of the Supreme Lord, because the Supreme Lord is the purest, everything else is impure, everything else is bodily oriented. Next slide, please. So as Prahlad Maharaj instructs, this is a very powerful instruction. As Prahlad Maharaj instructs, he says that even though you are sons of demons, you are inclined to sense gratification, you are inclined to enjoying matter. Please listen to me with faith. So Prahlad Maharaj was so convinced that he could change just by preaching Krishna consciousness. This talks about the need sometimes to speak pure Krishna consciousness, and we cannot really speak Krishna consciousness unless you are pure enough. Because the purity is the vessel that can carry the Krishna consciousness into the hearts of the non-devotees or the people who are aspiring. So it is very imperative for all of ISKCON, all the devotees here, to have and develop the purity. And the purity comes with, of course, we all know chanting. And the faith is an important, here it says, you can place your faith in my words. And we should all have that potency in ourselves. And we should be able to talk to anyone in the street and be able to convince them, or able to give them that faith just by speaking the words. And that can come only with humility and understanding that we are simply instruments. Once we like to take a simple credit for our activity, that is an impurity. The impurity will block the flow of Krishna consciousness from the spiritual master to the person who is receiving it. And here Prahlad Maharaj was able to convince everyone just by simply speaking the pure philosophy. And then here if you read Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj was put into enormous stress, but Prahlad Maharaj, he was thrown into burning oil and a pile of snakes, etc. But Prahlad Maharaj was completely understood. And here, and Srila Prabhupada says, and Bhagavatam quotes also, that he was not even aware that Hiranyakashipu was putting him through this difficulty, because his awareness was not bodily based. This is a simple example of how you are not body, because he was not trying to think that I am not the body. He was simply existing as a spirit soul, and anything acting outside was completely beyond his awareness area. And that is the real realization of you are not the body and understanding. And that was Prahlad Maharaj. And in that consciousness he was speaking, and he is one emphatic pure devotee. And later when Nrismha says that he is the best of all pure devotees. Next slide. So if you are really pure and faithful, and that's when you reveal, every knowledge is revealed. And Srila Prabhupada says that one can understand all of the intricate knowledges just being pure, because you become a clean pipeline of conveys the bhakti from the Lord to anyone else. So that is the pure qualification of pure devotee. And Prahlad Maharaj instructs that one should not be ambitious to dissipate unhappy conditions. So this is very, very powerful statements. If you want to, this says that do not take any efforts to solve any problems. Every effort can be solved by being Krishna conscious. Like as we go, we all get bodily sickness. Diseases will come. He says, as diseases come to you, did anybody file for an application for a virus? Cold comes as you go out. People give you cold. You don't have to wait in line to get cold, or stomach pain, or kinds of a chest pain. Everything comes on its own, and we can close the door, it will come to you. You can sleep in an iron container, it will come to you. Srila Prabhupada says that as these diseases come to you automatically, so does your good things will come to you, auspicious things. This is a very beautiful point. Do not strive for it. Why do you strive for something that comes to you? It will come automatically. Strive only for Krishna consciousness. We always strive for good things, and we always try to stop the bad things. He says, do not try to stop the bad things, because that is your quota coming from your previous life. Similarly, the good things will come to you. This is Prahlad Maharaj. He says in 2-3 verses. And here it says that without endeavor, one can get the amount of happiness and distress for which is destined. This has numerous consequences. Even if you want to lose weight, chant Hare Krishna. Even if you want to have your car fixed, chant Hare Krishna. This is what it is. Do not get into this materialist. The materialist always gives you material solutions, and says that therefore it is better to use one time for advancement. Any problem, do not, it says the effort to solve a problem is worse than the problem itself. As you try to solve a problem, you dig deeper into the problem, and that is the desire of Maya Devi. And that is where we need, but it is not easy. Srila Prabhupada says that it is not easy. That you cannot just give up solving a problem, but we have to have this intelligence. Next slide, please. So with that intelligence, Prahlad Maharaj goes on to say that intelligence is very important to advance in Krishna consciousness. As long as you are occupied with solving material problems, you will always be occupied with material problems. But there is a trick. It is easy to say that I won't do the problem and I give it to Krishna, but that's also the Krishna says that you must put your effort also. So in the 5 factors of action, Krishna says that as your endeavor is important, the doer is important. So that striking the balance that's where your spiritual master is there. You need to strike the balance between how much you should do and how much you shouldn't do, how much you leave it to Krishna. And that is where advanced devotees, that's where I always like to take the help of Parade Prabhuji and Chaitanya Mataji, because it is very difficult, because we are controlled by our own false ego, by our own material desires. So we cannot take decisions on things of what to do, how much to do, what to do next. So we always have to have some guardian, some senior disciple who are purer than you, can dictate and guide you in the proper direction. And now Lord Hiranyakashipu gets very upset. We know the story. How much time do we have? So Hiranyakashipu is very upset. So he gets on Prahlad Maharaj on the lap and asks finally, what did your teachers teach you? And at the end, Prahlad Maharaj is unaffected by the point that he's sitting on the lap of somebody who can destroy the entire universe. But without any fear, this is pure devotion. Pure devotees fear nothing. And they speak only about Krishna, nothing else they speak. So he immediately started speaking on the glories of how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only one who controls everything. And here is a very beautiful chapter. Please read, I think the 6th chapter, where Prahlad Maharaj gives the 9 process of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So he talks in details about how this 9 process of devotional service are the only undertakings for a person, and that will protect one from any danger. And that is what he recommends Hiranyakashipu also to do. And Hiranyakashipu had enough. And his teachers also come back and tell that, my dear king, your son has not only learned by himself, but he has also corrupted all of the students. And all of the students, even though they're demonic, they have learned how to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how to approach him. So he's the poison that has to be removed. And Hiranyakashipu goes on to say, he quotes scriptures how to say that, how one poison in one small amount of poison can spoil the entire quantity of milk, etc. like that. So he says that there's time that Prahlad Maharaj has to be destroyed, has to be taken out. So he throws Prahlad Maharaj into the ground. I mean, even then Prahlad Maharaj is simply unaffected. And this is the quality of the pure devotees. They are simply unaffected. They are not troubled by material tribulations. And it is not really difficult to understand, because they are not situated with the body. So anything you can do. So for example, if somebody hurts on the exterior things, we are not going to be worried. If some car explodes, which is not our car, we are not worried. But once we are connected to that thing, that's when we worry. So the philosophy is extremely simple. That it is not yours, you don't worry. And Prahlad Maharaj is simply that way. The body is not mine, I'm not worried. It is not rocket science for even any of us to understand. But we cannot understand. If somebody says anything, we get offended and we get fight. And that is the conscious. So in that level, Prahlad Maharaj relates. But Hiranyakashipu was completely the opposite. The demonic, where he thinks that he is the Supreme Lord and he is very much affected by what Prahlad Maharaj says. And now he orders that Prahlad Maharaj be killed. He puts him into things and he takes his weapon to kill. And then he asks, as we know the story, he asks Prahlad Maharaj whether your Lord is residing in the pillars, and he tries to break open the pillars. And that's when, next slide, Lord Nrismha ki jai, Lord Nrismha appears. So Lord Nrismha, this is the last one. Lord Nrismha comes as very ferocious, and this is a very amazing aspect of Vaishnavism. The Lord comes here and is full of anger and impossible to look at. And he is decorated with the garland, and he comes out of the pillar and he destroys Hiranyakashipu. And the destruction of Hiranyakashipu takes place after he plays with it and plays with Hiranyakashipu, and after fighting and the battle goes on for a while, and now Hiranyakashipu is killed, and it is very gruesomely presented, and Lord Nrismha just rips out his heart and throws away. Just imagine a scene where one person comes and rips one's heart and takes his intestine as garland and putting on his neck. And can you even understand and explain to a non-devotee that this is a supreme Lord of infinite mercy? This is impossible for anyone in this universe to think this aspect of the divine is actually divine. How can the Lord do this? Because this is the extreme example to demonstrate that all those who are in body consciousness will never accept the Lord. As long as one is bodily related, if you think about tearing a body and stripping out your heart, and that will never be accepted. I mean, that's what the Lord is. This is to show that we are completely non-different from the body. And that's where in the rituals they burn the body just to illustrate that you're not the body. So the entire philosophy is simply surrounded by this simple one point around the body. But here again, it's not more than that. And he was decorated with garlands, and they say it is beautiful. And Srila Prabhupada, it's such a beautiful scene. Can you imagine? That is the consciousness and how they could see that. And he has actually, when they talk about this, Hiranyakashipu has accumulated all the bogas and the offerings they were given on this yagnas. He consumed it. And Lord Vishnu took that away by taking out his intestine. And this is the vivid picture of Nrismha. Nrismha was extremely angry, plucking out the heart. The same Nrismha was simply calm when he criticized, when Hiranyakashipu criticized Lord Vishnu. He didn't say anything, but once his devotee was put into trouble, Lord Nrismha could not resist anymore. He comes out, he was roaring, his eyes was red and copper, his mane is shattered with blood, and in that scene his eyes is touching the sky, and his hairs is touching the sky, and the planes in the heavenly kingdoms are being affected by the movement of the hairs. And that's how huge Nrismha is. And he's such a terrifying, powerful, fearful figure. He's standing there and with that garland, and imagine that an angry situation there. And next slide quickly. And here Prahlad Maharaj, this is part as we have to understand, as you're standing very ferociously there, and even the demigods are very fearful. And this talks about the demigods, how much they're even attached to their fear comes only when you're in the body consciousness, and the demigods were even afraid. But Lakshmi Devi also, that is puzzling to me, Lakshmi Devi also was fearful that she was not ready to approach Lord Vishnu, Lord Nrismha. And the demigods led by Brahma, they pushed this young boy, 5-year-old Prahlad Maharaj to Nrismha to pray and to bring down the calm, bring down the anger. And Prahlad Maharaj says, "You are never conquered. I am certainly not afraid of your ferocious." And Prahlad Maharaj gives wonderful praise. Please go back and read it. And here Prahlad Maharaj says that after long beautiful praise, he said, "I am not afraid." When everyone is afraid, Prahlad Maharaj says, "I am simply not afraid." That is the pure devotee. But the next line immediately he says that, but as he pays obeisances to Nrismha, he says, I missed one point. So when Nrismha was extremely angry, here Prahlad Maharaj goes and pays obeisances. And so imagine a situation where here somebody, Lord Nrismha is completely destroyed and is extremely angry to the point that no one wants to come near him. In that angry mood, Prahlad Maharaj goes and pays obeisances. And immediately, within a fraction of a second, Nrismha anger comes down, and his anger now turns into, in fact, ecstatic mercy that out of so much affection he touches the head of Prahlad Maharaj. And this is quite incredible that way. Anger, and insurmountable anger transforms in like a lightning speed to infinite mercy. This is called the anger, transcendental anger. And as soon as he touched the head of Prahlad Maharaj was very divinely filled. He got the entire revelations and he was speaking from that Brahman platform. And this understanding, he says, not even many demigods have gotten the blessings of being touched, but this is quite amazing that the Lord could transform from such anger. We have to really meditate on this aspect. All of us get angry. The anger is the reflection, the perverted reflection of the Supreme Lord's anger, but the anger has to be controlled. And anger has to be controlled and used for divinity and for Krishna consciousness. And the anger uncontrolled will burn us out. And this is quite a powerful meditation, how you can have anger. I mean, without an anger, you become a very dullard person, like a stone. But anger has to be there. Anger is the fire power with which you can analyze and apply Krishna consciousness and put it into power. But if you cannot transform it and use it constructively, it will burn. It can go into offenses. And this is very powerful to meditate in how we can use anger and how we can still be merciful. And Lord Nrismha is that example of how to transform, how to be in that ability to transform anger and into different emotions. Next slide. And here it says, next previous slide. It's okay. And then here it says that as Prahlad Maharaj says, I am not afraid of you, Lord Nrismha, but he says, the last line if you can read, I am very much afraid of my condition of life with this material world. So we have to really think about this. If Prahlad Maharaj, who's completely blessed by Nrismha, still fears the material world, imagine our situation. Our situation is helpless is not even a word. It is a really miserable situation. We don't even know that 10 lions are behind us. We are just playing with lollipops when tigers are coming to us. When snakes and crocodiles or 20 of them are watching through the window, and here I am playing with sand marbles and playing childish games. This is ridiculous. Not even understanding the problems we are going to face in the future and still enjoying and fighting and arguing over petty things. This is really the amazing potency of Maya Devi. You just can imagine, just the problems are coming, the diseases are thousands, and the death is coming in millions of ways. And people die every second in this moment. Children are suffering, everybody is suffering in the world, and still fight over laddus and paper plates and what not. That is our conscience, that is the beauty of the amazing Lord. He can put us into this box of illusion and think that this is important when this is not important. But Prahlad Maharaj says that this material world is scary. Next slide. I think I'm taking too much time. So Prahlad, I'm going to finish in like probably 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Srila Prahlad Maharaj says that my Lord, who are never conquered by anyone and certainly not afraid of... Oh, not this one. Next one. Maharaj says, although there are many remedies by which to get us miserable. I can't say this. Next one. Next one. Another Srila Prahlad Maharaj says that a father and mother cannot protect the child. It is simply an illusion to think that we can protect anybody. We just cannot protect even a nail. What to think of the family? Consciousness is so materialistic, we think we can protect, we can build this family, we can do all these things. Suffering and boat on the ocean cannot even protect the drowning man. These are all words of Prahlad Maharaj. I just want to give the words. Next one. Oh, this is the last one. Here. Hare Krishna.
You have 10 more. Take 10.
तो फिर माता जी डांस करेगी
Hare Krishna.
So then we have Nrismha.
So as for Bhagavad Maharaj says that this is, please take this, I really spoke a lot, but take this one word home. That's why I put it in one sentence home, which is that Bhagavad Maharaj says that I'm being crushed by the weight of time. And elsewhere, Srimad Bhagavatam it is mentioned that even the cell, there is the time Krishna enters into every cell as a time element. And he is, the time element is like the crushing, the engine or the crushing power of the Lord is inside us. Just imagine that it is just a huge force is destroying. And Prahlad Maharaj says that numerous kings have come and gone. They have been destroyed by time. Let's meditate on this. The time is force. Every second it's ticking. Is a destructive force in action. It is the most silent power in this whole universe that is taking our life. And let us pray to Lord Nrismha that there is the only one who can protect us, the real control of the time. We are under the control of the time and we have to really pray sincerely. And this is on this day is where we really seek the blessings of Lord Nrismha because he is the only controller of time and he is the only one who can take us out of this fearful situation. And we are so much, and I say we, I mean we, myself, it's very offensive to include everybody, we have very, very different consciousness. But it is not right to say I. So we are very much under the control of this material world. And we are so illusioned that we can't even understand that we are an illusion. Prahlad Maharaj says that it is very difficult to even imagine living here without the Lord Nrismha, that he is praying that I'm afraid that the material world will empower. That is the power of illusion. We should be very careful. And every time we waste, it's a time we will regret in the womb in after few years. If time wasted will be repeated back to us as we sit in the womb for 10 months. The dark place is a place just to regret. And to regret for the time wasted. So, it is important on this very powerful, auspicious day. Next slide, I have an inspection that we have. Lord Nrismha, I don't know, let me finish with Lord Nrismha. Prahlad Maharaj, the Krishna was standing with him and Nrismha extremely angry. Oh, sorry, I missed the slides, next one. If you want to be saved from the suffering, we must appeal to same control. Here, as Nrismha, Prahlad Maharaj finishes the prayer, Srila Prabhupada requests that please let's pray to Nrismha. And Lord Nrismha, as Prahlad Maharaj finishes the prayers, all other Kinnaras, Gandharvas, everybody comes and finishes the prayers. It's so amazing that the whole 10 chapters, there are numerous beautiful prayers, all of them pray the Lord, thanking them for liberating from Hiranyakashipu. But Lord Nrismha says very few words. That is quite amazing how the Lord who knows everything, who just speaks very little. Whereas not all of us, that is a very powerful meditation that we have to speak very little. So let me stop here. I spoke a lot. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And please read the 10 chapters and 10th canto. And we have to meditate, and there is nothing like reading Bhagavatam. And as you read, and that's how we have to enrich our mind, and that's the only way we can chant. Escape selection. Hare Krishna. Very thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.